Hello, welcome back to another episode of Transfer Portal CFB presented by No Context CFB. It's draft week slash day. It's pretty much here, so that's fun. That's cool. I'm not doing this intro for like the ninth time, so that's all good. Mitch is with me, Three Tech Pod. Woo, yeah. What's up, Mitch?
What's up? Yeah, second time in
Yeah.
a row that we've tried to record a podcast and had something break on us. So hopefully this makes it to the
Woo.
airwaves.
Yes, sir. Much like the Houston Texans are going to break the draft at 2. Woo, we don't know what's happening there. This is authentic.
That's right. I mean, like I said on the first try, the only thing that we do know around this time of year is that we don't actually know what's going to happen, and that's kind of beautiful and chaotic, and it's really fun to watch come Thursday night. So yeah, I mean, there are questions up and down this draft board. I think can at least from what the Vegas markets are telling us, Bryce Young's probably going number one, and I know a couple of months ago, a month and a half ago, it was the exact opposite, right? It was CJ Stroud at number one. And now is Stroud going to go at number two? Is this S2 testing actually legit? Is that going to sink his chances? I don't think either of us believe that. He probably should go at number two to the Texans, but hey, if Houston wants to play kind of Russian roulette with the Caleb Williams tankathon next season and bet their future on a quarterback that's a full year away, they're going to get a better football team. They're going to go hopefully best available with Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson at number two, and then grab somebody that can help on the offense and later down the board. But yeah, it's a mess, man, and it's just so fun to watch this time of year.
Yeah, which is it's fine if Houston's like Stroud, Levis, Hooker, Anthony, whatever. Like it's fine if Caleb's your guy, but I'll tell you, D'Amico, saw this 12-year-old throwing the ball at the park the other day. I think he's really good. I think he's gonna be a top 3 pick whenever he enters. Already getting looked at by the Alabamas of the world. North Dakota State's in on him too.
Sure.
So D'Amico, you go with Caleb Williams, man. I just remember 12-year-old at the park, stud too, rocket the arm. Saw him throw an 8-yard out route. I I probably could have picked it off, but it's about the developmental skills. He's got a
That's
mind
right.
like no other for his age.
All about the projectables, right?
Yes, for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I hate having to do this for a second time and having to try and like think of what I already said slash repeating what I said and not being authentic and stuff. I hate that. Basically, I don't know. I'll just give like slimmed down versions. Said something about. I think I had this thought yesterday, Mitch. I told you this before. Crazy. Had this thought that Houston, D'Amico, the front office, everybody was kind of like, we see Stroud's here now. Young's gone. He was our guy. We might still be in on Stroud, but what if we just did a little trolling? What if we just trolled? And you'd be trolling Arizona and Indianapolis and some other teams that might be moving up for a QB. And you're just like essentially trolling them saying, we're not in on Stroud. We're taking defense. Heck, we might even move down. Hey, you don't know what we're doing. Nobody knows what Houston's doing. Trolling essentially makes this really difficult for Arizona, who's trying to move out of the pick.
Mm-hmm.
You're hindering them from moving out of this pick until they're on the clock, which is brutal. Slash, they think that they're going to be able to get a king's ransom, they would hope, for a team trying up for Stroud. Houston changed that all. If they take CJ at 2, I don't think he's going to go second, but we do know he's in the mix. Where did you have CJ Stroud? I'm third overall.
I have so in my last mock, I do have him sliding down to 4. I believe that he is my quarterback 2 behind Bryce Young, so I would not be shocked if he went to Houston. To your point, Houston is brilliantly holding the Cardinals hostage because Arizona cannot convince another team, whether it be the Raiders, whether it be the Titans. We've heard that the Vikings might be interested in moving all the way up inside the top 5 for a quarterback.
Like,
They can't.
what would that package look like?
Right. I mean, that would be gargantuan. But the reality is they can't accurately price the value of that third round pick because no one knows what Houston's going to do. So if Houston wants to move out, that really sucks for Arizona because they're going to get the King's ransom that the Cardinals so desperately need, especially with DeAndre Hopkins, Budda Baker both wanting out. I mean, that team is dead on arrival. There's nothing that team is going to do to compete this year. They need to tear it down to the studs. And yet that process, like you mentioned, can't fully start until they're on the clock. If Houston takes a quarterback, then you might have a team that's desperate enough to move up. If they don't, if they go Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, you might have a team like the Colts. You might have a team like the Titans willing to sit back, the Raiders, say, let's see what happens for another pick and leave Arizona dead in the water at number 3. It's going to be really fascinating, these first 5 picks and who goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Arizona will get a deal done. In my mock, I have Bryce going 1. I have Will Anderson going 2. And then I have Arizona making a trade with Vegas coming up from 7 to 3 to take CJ Stroud. I think that Stroud has sneakily been the top dude in the Raiders front office. I think they've been enamored with him. I just think it's been super low key and under the radar. Kind of holding out hope that that's true. I think Vegas would make that move up because you have to think this is a franchise that believes that they're going in the right direction, does not think that they're going to be picking this high in the near future. They're not thinking that they're going to be there for Caleb Williams or Drake May next year to move up. Yeah, you gotta let some picks go to secure a guy in CH Stroud, but I don't know. That's what I was. Should have done a mock draft special. That's what we should have done.
Well, I mean, we can take this whatever direction you want to. I know we've got some superlatives you want to throw out there.
I'm not against the mock draft special on the
we can pivot, man. I've got my mock draft. I'm assuming by the time that this goes up, my mock draft will be up on the transfer portal website as well. So if you want to rebrand this thing on the fly,
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
The Bill O'Reilly. Let's do it live.
All right. So top 3, I had Bryce Young, Will Anderson, then Vegas straight up to 3 for Stroud, and you had Bryce, and then
I've got Tyree Wilson going number 2 to the Texans. I think I'd been saying for quite some time now. I actually believe Tyree Wilson ends up being the best edge rusher in this class. He plays with so much power, and while he's not the complete player that I think Will Anderson is, Tyree is a tour de force coming off the edge. I think he's better in the run stopping as well. I just think he's going to have a higher ceiling, to be quite honest. So if Houston decides to go with Tyree and try and make him their Myles Garrett, their Joey Bosa, sick. Let's do it, man. But I've got Will Levis actually going number 3 to Las Vegas. I'm a firm believer where there's smoke, there's typically fire. And that's why, like, down the board, I've changed my Cowboys pick, which I'm a Dallas guy. I'm pretty in tune with what folks are saying about where the Cowboys are going. I don't love the pick that I ended up putting with Dallas, but there's so much momentum. And we've seen time and time again when there start to be multiple sources that kind of corroborate the same report, the same rationale, you start to wonder if there's some truth there. I know the Raiders love the huge arm that Will Levis brings. The thing that scares me about him, man, is I haven't seen him win at a high level in college, right? His accuracy is not typically a trait that gets better when you go into better competition. And that's what scares me about Will Levis. That being said, though, if he puts all the tools together, he can be an all-pro for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, not to brag or anything, but I think my comparison of Will Levis to Magikarp is pretty perfect. If he becomes Gyarados, we're all going to be wishing that we were friends with that Magikarp. I went with Will Levis at 4 to Indy. This is my 5th and final mock. I have mocked Will Levis to Indy 80% of the time. That dates back to early September. So yeah. I just see the fit. I think it was like 19th overall at one point. There was a point where it was 11th pick.
Yeah. And
now we're at 4, and I think Will Levis is Indy's guy.
Yeah. I
am very curious to know who your Dallas pick is. I have an idea. I have a guess, which I guess we'll wait till we get there. Sure. Let's who you got for Seattle, or do you have Seattle even picking there at
I
5.
do. I have Seattle standing in there. Look, legal issues aside, Seattle
Yeah.
needs defensive interior help more than anything on that defense. That rush defense was abysmal. And when you only have any sort of anchor on that line coming off the edge, it makes things very, very easy, or much easier, I should say, for an opposing offense, especially in the NFC West, where it's just loaded offense after loaded offense. You think about excuse me, you think about having to play San Francisco twice a year, the Rams, who at least traditionally have had a decent rushing attack twice a year, and then whatever Arizona is. Jalen Carter makes so much sense for me there. At number 5, arguably the top talent available in the draft. I don't know if I'd go that far, but you've got guys like Dane Brugler who still hold to that fact. So if he's on the board there and Seattle's done their homework, which I know they have, I fully expect Jalen to be a Seahawk.
Yeah, I mean, I have Jalen at 5 too. I think that this is the highest that he could go, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion. We know his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, has only taken visits and meetings with top 10 teams. The only reason that they're going to the draft in KC is because he's going to get picked in the top 10, and they wouldn't go if that wasn't the case. I think this is the highest he could go. Seattle's just a team that likes to take these risks too. So, and I mean, yeah, like position and need, the positional value ain't there, but that's another rant for another day.
Sure.
Pick 6. I personally shake up the draft with this pick. I don't know about you though.
So I've got Will Anderson. He's still on the board
Okay.
here. I think the Lions, if he is on the board, not necessarily their top need, but you have a potentially generational edge rusher that you can pair with Aiden Hutchinson. You've got another pick, obviously later in the first round, where you can go offense, you can go secondary, which has been what I've typically mocked to the Lions. I normally had Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon, going to Detroit to play for the Fighting Dan Campbells. But with Will Anderson on the board, this was the first mock that I had him slide all the way down to 6. So I just can't. If I'm in the Detroit front office and Will Anderson's on the board, I'm not able to sleep that night if I walk another name up to the podium.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. When was it? April 17th. Jeez, I only wrote this like what,
Not even 10 days
9-ish
ago. Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah.
That's wild. I did, because that's kind of when the rumblings about Houston not going QB really came up, and
Mhm.
I went with what the top 10 would look like if Houston fades quarterback. Had Tyree at 2 like you, and then I mean Will Anderson was there at 6. Like it worked out that way. A different 3 and 4 picks, because I
Mhm.
went Stroud and Richardson there, but to Vegas and Indianapolis. But Will Anderson at 6, like there's a real possibility that could happen. That frightens me because it just shouldn't.
Right.
For my 6th overall selection, Tennessee called up Detroit. Detroit loves acquiring draft capital, accumulating all this and that, building towards his future is always so that they always have a strong foundation. I think they're a team that could very well be trading down from 6. I had Tennessee running up, jumping at the opportunity to draft Anthony Richardson. I didn't do trade details for the other one, so I guess I shouldn't here, but Anthony Richardson just I personally cannot see him falling out of the top 10. I just really don't see it. The betting odds also line up with him still going around this exact range.
Sure.
So I mean that's where I went. I think Tennessee's been sneakily aggressive again. Like a month ago, like there were talks, rumbles that they were trying to move up as far as 2 or 3 to make something happen. And if they're doing their homework on Anthony, man.
They are. They are. They absolutely, and they should be, right? I mean, Anthony's a guy very similar to Will Levis who has a lot of the tools. Um, didn't really ever put it together in college. We saw flashes where he could put up huge numbers. We also saw games where he lost to Vanderbilt, right? So you if you're going to commit to him, if you're going to trade up and spend a lot of draft capital, the reality is Tennessee's got to win now or rebuild now. They are at this weird junction where that roster is aging. The offensive firepower is decreasing by the
Dwindling,
day.
yeah.
You've seen all the rumors about Derrick Henry potentially being on the move. Who's actually going to be quarterback there if they stand pat? Is it Ryan Tannehill? Is it is it Malik Willis? I don't think so. The offensive line is not what it used to be. They've got some glaring holes there, and they've got some young talent on defense. But at the other end, if you can't score, then it feels like that defensive talent ultimately probably has to be trade bait. So yeah, this would be a swing and a potential home run for Tennessee if they decide to go Anthony Richardson. I would not fault them for trying to hit that big and win now. But we'll ultimately see. I had him falling all the way down to 11 at Tennessee's original pick, and then picking up Anthony Richardson because the value is there, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and the good thing about Malik Willis is you don't really have to stress over giving up on a young quarterback that early because he didn't really invest any draft capital into him. It was a day 2 pick, so whatever. Arizona on the trade down here at 7 went with Tyree Wilson. I think that I think they're absolutely infatuated with him. I know there's a chance that Tyree does fall a bit due to medical concerns, but I could verify that Tyree Wilson has been green flagged by Arizona. So I know that they'd be cool taking him. He passed their medicals, and I mean, you're able to trade down. I got them getting a 2025 first in their trade with Vegas, and now you still get Tyree Wilson at 7. No brainer.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, gosh, you trade back, you find a guy that I've already described as potentially the highest ceiling edge rusher. That's a big win for Arizona. It's a win for a team that has not gotten a lot of wins in the last couple of months. I think that would be a huge steal for them.
For sure. Where'd you have your 7th pick?
So at number 7, I've got Christian Gonzalez here going to Arizona. I've got my top 2 edge rushers off the board. Christian Gonzalez is my top corner. Listen, they need secondary help. Budda Baker wants out the door. Obviously, Budda is a safety. Christian is a corner, but to invest in secondary with the top 2 edge rushers off the board, I think makes a lot of sense for Arizona. It's a guy that can develop and get reps while they're going to be pretty bad this next year. But for me, in today's NFL, if you're not investing in pass rush with premium picks, getting secondary is kind of the next best thing that you can do.
Yeah, and probably what you shouldn't do is invest elite capital into a running back, and that's exactly why I have Atlanta doing it. Rather than taking Bijan Robinson.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. I cannot believe that this is where I'm at. It's just truly what I think will happen. And when people with the Falcons keep saying like one day it's Bijan, the next it's Nolan. Heck, there's even been some JSN talk sprinkled in there, but the point that has been hit home the most is trying to trade down. Issue is Richardson, Levis, Stroud, Bryce, all gone now. Who's going to be traded up for? Devin Witherspoon, Paris Johnson, perhaps. I just think Atlanta's going to have a tough time trading down from A. I think they're going to panic and pick the running back.
So this is from my mock draft verbatim. Quote, Atlanta, don't you dare take Bijan here. Your team has so many needs that are far more important than running back, end quote. I've got them taking edge rusher Nolan Smith out of Georgia. Now, Bijan from a talent perspective is a fit anywhere, right? Yeah. To me, Bijan may end up being the most talented player in this entire draft. We'll see. But because the running back position is in such a devalued state, yes, would it be an exciting pick? Would it be a huge boost for that Atlanta offense? Absolutely. Do they need to build the trenches before I feel like they can fully get the maximum potential out of Bijan? Also, yes. So they could go offensive line here. I think Paris Johnson Jr. is obviously in play. Peter Skoronski, the tackle / guard. I've got him graded as a guard out of Northwestern, heavily in play here. they also suck at pass rush. They have
Yeah.
zero pass rush. And so for me, a local guy, Nolan Smith, not a powerful player, but a bendy, athletic guy who really wasn't given the ability to just tee off on the passer at Georgia. Georgia brings a lot of blitzes from the safety, from the secondary off the backside. Nolan, you didn't see him in a lot of just 1 versus 1, go get the quarterback. I think Atlanta could give him that opportunity, and I think Nolan could shine.
Because it's so, I would say the last almost pretty much the entire cycle. I'd have to go back and look at every mock draft pick I did for Atlanta. I feel like I've attacked edge rusher and gotten them the pass rush that they're trying to like make over and build this foundation from really the start up. Like I know that they're investing either number 8, wherever they pick in the first round, or a second rounder. They're probably taking an edge rusher with one of those 2 picks. I just I cannot believe that. I think that there's a very real chance it's going to be Bijan at 8, which is so dumbfounding when you consider that this is the same franchise that just got a heck of a lot of production out of a 5th round pick in Tyler Algier, and will go out there, see what the day 3 running back did for them in a bad offense on a bad team, and then go out there months later and draft his replacement with a top 10 pick. That is absolutely pathetic. I love Bijan, great dude, going to be a good ball player, but my goodness, is that an awful pick for that organization.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It would be a strategic misstep to invest that kind of capital when,
to say the least,
when your offense is not ready to compete, right? You don't have a quarterback that is just missing a good running back, a ball player who can run and catch passes out of the backfield. You've got issues all over the field. So yeah, to invest a franchise changing pick in the top 10 in Bijan, who again could be the most talented guy out of this draft. I mean, really could be. You're seeing a lot of people say all pro, potential Hall of Famer. Like he's different, right? He is different. But at the same time, you have to take into consideration, look, the value that we're going to extract out of Bijan probably isn't nearly the same value that we can extract out of a complete offensive line or an elite pass rush. To me, running back just falls so far below that that I'm not considering drafting Bijan until we're, past pick 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, and if I were Atlanta, if I were in that front office, I would, again, like they're trying to trade down, I would trade down. I think this is a fine trade down spot. It's a good trade down spot. You just have to find a fit. You have to find a trade partner to dance with. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would figure it out, and I would try and get. You gotta get a 1st round pick in a future year, man. And I don't know if you're going to be able to get 24 on. That 25 class is filthy.
Yeah,
Travis Hunter is going to be a king in that class. There's a lot of other really good players in it. I'd be trying to acquire 25 first. Like I ain't gonna lie. And then you just gotta evaluate. Like if you're taking offense, if you're taking skill position, would you rather have Bijan or JSN? Would you rather have Bijan, London, Pitts, JSN, London, Pitts?
right.
What do you want your young Desmond Ridder to work with? I personally just lean towards JSN. Why? Because I know I could go out there on day 3 and get Dwayne McBride for my backfield. I could go get a Kean Mitchell who's going to fly. He's a blur. I could get a UDFA possibly, and like Chris Smith or Jaleel McLaughlin, who are going to help out with Tyler Algier. We're going to be fine. Our passing attack's going to be lethal with JSN, London, and Pitts, you'd think. So yeah, we're on to Chicago.
We are on to Chicago. I've got them taking Skoronski here, Peter Skoronski, the guard. Tackle at Northwestern. Again, I've got him graded as guard. Now, I know you disagree with this. I'm guessing you have them taking Paris Johnson Jr. because gaping hole at left tackle for Chicago. For me, I gave them Skoronski because he does play tackle. I think he can play left tackle for Chicago. I think you kick him inside, he's even better. For a team that wants to compete immediately and has an aging offensive line, Skoronski's gotten so many high grades for his technicality, whereas Paris Johnson Jr. obviously is more the brute force strength guy. Also incredibly effective at pass protection. I think it's really just going to come down to which guy they like more.
Yeah, and I feel like they would prefer Paris Johnson. That's why I went with them. I feel like the Bears are looking for a cornerstone left tackle, you're able to take Paris, put him there. Hopefully he's your franchise guy. You swing Braxton Jones to right tackle, and Tevin Jenkins has already made the switch to the interior. And again, for the first time in a long time, you're smiling about the Bears offensive line, which hasn't happened since Woolly Mammoths have walked the earth. So I think Paris Johnson's the correct pick here. I love Skoronski, don't get me wrong. So I have Skoronski going 10th to Philly.
Ugh, that makes me sick.
I'm sorry. Okay. So at the time of my writing and all that, the Eagles were minus 140 to go offensive line. Peter Skoronski was the favorite to go plus 250 as the 10th player selected. And, got some intel that Philly really liked Peter. Yeah. And then in the last, I'd say 3 hours, there's been reports.
Uh-oh, you muted yourself.
I am the worst tech. I don't even know how that happened. I didn't press anything. Mitch. Okay. I don't know. Okay. I don't know where I left off, but essentially
you left me on a cliffhanger. You said within the last 3 hours.
Last 3 hours. Apparently Philly's been wanting to trade up for one of the edge rushers in Tyree or Will Anderson. Apparently they prefer Paris Johnson. What do you want me to do? I'm stuck on this Peter Skoronski island now. I've already entered my mock drafts into contests. Don't leave me hanging. You put Skoronski in the interior of this offensive line, and it's scary. Imagine what's going to happen on the Jalen Hurts QB sneak. We might not only be getting 4 yards. It might be 8 or 12 or 16.
Yeah, offensive line here for the Eagles could be a great pick. I've got them going with an edge rusher here, Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. It's a luxury pick, so Philly can do whatever they want here. I mean, heck, Philly could take Bijan Robinson at number 10, and I don't think you'd be able to really criticize them for it, right? Like, this is a Super Bowl roster. This is a championship contending team. What little tweaks can we make? What little improvements can we make? And oh, by the way, you've got pick 30 in your back pocket as well. The report that they might trade up to go get Will Anderson absolutely terrifies me as a Dallas Cowboys fan, because Howie Roseman is truly playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. The way that he has built his team and accrued draft capital high in the draft, this is New Orleans pick originally. It's brilliant. It's nothing short of a Madden franchise, right? Where you can, kind of cheese the CPU with the trade simulator, right? I mean, Howie Roseman's done a brilliant job. He's done a brilliant job. And whether he goes offensive line, if he goes edge rusher, he gets to just keep stacking this team with young, cheap, premium talent. In my mind, the Eagles, there's like zero chance the Eagles don't win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years. Their roster is just too talented.
Yeah, and that Saints trade, from the second it happened, I scoffed.
Bad.
I could not believe what they were doing. Who'd you have Philly taken again?
So I've got Lucas Van Ness right now. Right. A little bit higher on him than some. Again, wasn't even really a starter at Iowa. He's not a complete product, but for me, taking a guy with Van Ness who has great projectables, he doesn't even have to start. So he can join a loaded rotation, a very solid defense that already got James Bradbury and Darius Slay back this year at the cornerback position. I'm not looking forward to playing Philly twice this year.
And then at 11, you went with Anthony Richardson, right? To Tennessee.
Correct. Yeah, Anthony Richardson to the Titans. Yeah, which Tennessee, if that happens, if they get to stay put and draft a quarterback, could go offensive line as well. Paris Johnson Jr., who, if he's on the board or not, Broderick Jones out of Georgia. I think that if they can stand pat and get one of those guys, they'll be really happy.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could just see my infatuation with the 25 class, because I think teams are seeing what's there in 24 and they're super excited. And they're like, oh, we don't want to give our pick up. Well, let's give you our 25. So like, I had Tennessee trading a 25 first, and there a lot of details in there, going from 11 to 6, 25 first, some other stuff. Tennessee gets pick 55 back. I was doing a lot of calculating with that pick. And still, Detroit's there at 11. They still get Devin Witherspoon, who I think that they would have taken at 6, because Will Anderson wasn't there for me.
Sure.
I think again, Detroit, Brad Holmes, love moving down, love accumulating draft capital. Doing little Eagles dancing here like you're Howie. Piling up that capital again, the 25 first from Tennessee. Who knows? Could stink in 25. That could be a top 5 pick or something. We don't know what the future holds. You're still getting Devin at 11. That's good stuff. The spoon goes to Detroit.
I think it's a great pick. I love Devin Witherspoon. I really do. Physical corner. He's going to get in trouble early on. I think he's going to have a lot of pass interference penalties early in his career because he's so physical. He hand fights so much. But very, very high ceiling. Love the ball skills. Very great athlete, and he's just nasty. That's going to compete really well if he goes to Detroit. I love that pick.
Yeah, he ain't like the biggest dude, but he's physically imposing, and he's just a straight up enforcer. He's disgusting. The hit that he had early in the year against Indiana replays in my mind 10 times a week. I'll tell you what, man. The instincts on that play, the hard hitting ability, the swagger, the confidence, toughness. It's just dang good football player. He screams Dan Campbell football too, biting kneecaps, this and that. And my first corner off the board didn't go till 11. It's kind of interesting. The cornerback class is so loaded.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that, Devin and Gonzalez at the top kind of slide a bit because teams are like, we just don't value those two that much over a cornerback that we get in the second round or something, because that's how deep the corner class is. Like there's legit 8 or 9 guys, 9 if you really count Forbes, that I think personally I would take in the first round this year because it's not the best class and the cornerback class is just so lethal. But yeah, at 12, who knows now, because Houston is trolling us. I get very worried because everybody and their mothers and their mothers' grandmothers has mocked JSN 12, it feels like. And that's what I have. I feel like it's just going to get mushed. I feel like it's mushed. It's done. It can't happen now.
Right. When everybody has the same result, you're like, wait a minute.
We're cooked.
Now it's groupthink. Houston could go so many different directions. We were making fun of that earlier on the first version when we tried that. It was Adam Schefter or somebody tweeted out that Houston is, considering staying put at 12. They're considering moving up. They're considering moving down. And I felt like I got dumber after I read that tweet because all that it signaled was that Houston plans to participate in the 2023 NFL draft with both of their first round picks, right? Do something with them. So yeah, we have no idea what's going on at 12. Jackson Smith and Jigba would be a great addition to Houston, especially if they do go quarterback at number 2. Brandon Cooks is now in Dallas. You've got Dalton Schultz, who signed in the offseason at tight end, but you need kind of that dynamic playmaker out wide. I think JSN would be a great addition to Houston. But then again, maybe if we're all on the same page, maybe Houston's on a completely different track.
For sure. Sorry, Ian Rappaport tweeted something with breaking news, and I thought it was significant. It was it wasn't it does say breaking news on the graphic. Devon Hamilton agrees to a 3-year term with them, with the Jaguars. Huge, just crazy.
Huge.
Yeah, wild.
Break the internet.
We're both JSN to Houston. It'd be so it's such a good spot for JSN. It really is. If you're thinking about JSN and Caleb next year, or heck, maybe the Houstons mess around and win the AFC South and they have to take Riley Leonard or Michael Penix. It's just fun to think about.
Right.
JSN's going to carve. I truly believe. I don't like messing with the whole involving quarterbacks and big boards. I just don't think it's really fair for player rankings because the quarterback position just wastes so much more. You're always going to gravitate to them being better than everyone else at some point. So I don't really include them in my player rankings. I had JSN as top player of the class. I think people are just tripping over him. If he never had the hamstring thing, everybody would still be in love with this guy. I don't know. Isn't he born on Valentine's Day too? I feel like I've wrote that 4 times. JSN's just different, man.
Yeah.
Green Bay now holds 13. And my immediate thought to that trade was two things. It's hilarious how much more weight the value of pick 13 holds as opposed to 15. And I think it's quite funny that this seemingly took them out of tight end range. It was just leapfrogging New England.
Right. So, yeah, Green Bay keeps getting mocked tight ends. I think they could also use a wide receiver as well. And here's the deal. Dalton Kincaid to me is the only tight end that makes sense to Green Bay. Now Michael Mayer could go this early. I'm a little bit lower on Michael Mayer than a lot of people. I see some Rob Gronkowski to his game, but I don't know if he's going to turn into that explosive animal that Rob was. He's kind of clunky, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. Now, that being said, he's the ultimate safety blanket. So, if Green Bay wants a guy who's going to make catches and be able to get down the field and shake a tackle or two for Jordan Love, great. Michael Mayer is probably a good pick. He doesn't have enough wiggle in my game to where I think he should go at 13. So I've got Jordan Addison here, who does have that wiggle and a little bit more big play ability. But Green Bay needs to take an offensive weapon, which, boy, the irony would just be incredible, right? If Green Bay finally invests a premium selection in an offensive skill position the moment that they've traded Aaron Rodgers, right? With the pick that they trade Aaron Rodgers away from.
Yeah, but the better thing would be if they could get JSN again, Valentine's Day, birthday again, the ball thrown from Jordan Love. That's the connection. Figure it out if you can. Hold on. I want to just verify that. Okay, cool. I guess I can't because math bombs down. I'm pretty sure that Jordan. I just wanted to get the correct number, but I know he didn't have a great RAS, which is kind of just takes him out of Green Bay, in my opinion, because I think Green Bay heavily weighs and values relative athletic scores, and Jordan's isn't that high. And we've seen that this team, time and time again, in the Rodgers era, albeit has faded receiver. But then, I mean, they take like high quality athletes most of the time, and I think Jordan Addison's a whole lot better than his RAS suggests from an athletic standpoint, but it stuck. It wasn't a good combine. He was hurt too, playing through.
Yeah.
And then the rainy pro day, awful. I love Addison. I still think he's going to be a stud, but I personally don't think Green Bay would take him. That's my personal preference. And where we're at with this mock, I don't like Christian Gonzalez. It was a best player available pick. It really was. It might not be a glaring need at corner, but it could be next year. You don't know. It could be during the season, because what if something were to happen to Jair or Rasul, etc.? What if something happens? It's an easy BPA pick.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. I love that pick. Boy, if he slides out of the top 10 all the way to the Packers, go ahead. Just draft the best player available, make your team better. I like that pick a lot. The Patriots. Who did you land on? This was a tough pick for me.
This was interesting. So I played around with this pick a little bit, and originally I want to say I had Broderick Jones and then changed it after, because I originally had this guy going 8th and then switched it to Bijan. And so Nolan Smith was here at 14. And that's where I went. I mean, you spoke him up a bit. And New England's never in a spot where they're here picking for a prolific talent, and they're able to take a guy with one of the best combines in recent memory, it seems. It would have been talked about a whole lot more if it wasn't for that Anthony Richardson dude.
Yeah. I agree. I've got Devin Witherspoon going here, kind of a best player available once again to the Patriots. They need some secondary help. I love Devin. I've talked about him a little bit earlier. I just hope the Patriots don't reach, pull another Cole Strange, right?
I disagree. If they want to take Cody Malk at 14, let it happen. I'd be thrilled. So good for my brand, the Ginger brand. Good for the Malk family. I want that to happen. At 15, I feel like the Jets would make the same pick at 13 or 15. feel like it's going to be offensive line. I'm fairly confident in that. We know that it's going to happen on day 1 or 2. I think it'll happen here at 15 now. Okay, unless they move out, we don't know. But I think it's going to be Darnell Wright. Might be
Okay.
that whole right tackle thing and everything. But the biggest thing here is I don't think that they would take Broderick Jones. I know that Broderick received some red flags, and I use the quotes because I think it's ludicrous that this is what something will get red flagged for. Got red flagged in interviews because teams like that he's kind of a loner personality, just so ridiculous to think that that's going to take you away from drafting him because someone like isn't the most outgoing person. But what have we seen with the Jets time and time again, especially on Twitter? That team is so close knit. They are always tweeting each other. They're all like they're one big giant family that is literally in like the living room and just doesn't stop talking. It seems like.
Yeah.
Would Broderick fit in if he is that loner type? Would the Jets be comfortable bringing him in there when you want that tight offensive line that does everything together? A bunch of goofballs, this and that. I like Broderick. I just don't think he'd be the fit for the Jets. I really don't. So that's why I wanted Darnell Wright.
Very fair. Very fair. So we are on a similar track, but I've got the Jets trading out of this pick. I've got Minnesota coming up. They want a quarterback. They didn't invest as much capital to go get one of the top 4 guys. But guess who's going to be ready for week 1? Supposedly, it's Hendon Hooker. So I've got the Vikings trading up to 15. They go ahead and get Hendon Hooker, who I was really high on before he tore his ACL. I know he's older. He's 25 years old. He'll be 26 by January of next year. I totally get it. It's not quite as bad as Brandon Whedon, but he's still an older guy, and you've got to factor that in when he's going to be a 30-year-old by the time that he's off his rookie deal, right? At the same time, I love the evolution that we saw from Hendon Hooker after he left Virginia Tech. It felt like he became a full, complete quarterback. I really liked his ability to diagnose what the secondary was throwing at him. Now, he's also a guy who reportedly did not test well on the S2 testing. So how much does that factor in? I have no idea. I'm not going to offer an opinion on that because I don't know what the scores were, right? But I do think that Minnesota is in desperate need of a quarterback. Plus, if Hendon's not completely healthy, you've still got Kirk Cousins for another year. So this kind of is a great fit where he doesn't have to go be the starter from day 1. He can be the future for a team that I don't think has any interest in bringing Kirk Cousins back.
Halfway point. It's not breaking news, but Daniel Jeremiah's final mock draft did release, and there's something I'm looking at right now that I feel like I should bring up.
Okay.
And that's Houston taking CJ Stroud at number 2 with the comment. There's a lot of information swirling around this pick, but I keep coming back to common sense. Houston needs quarterback, and Stroud's the best one available at 2. So what happens at 3, Mitch? What happens at 3?
I'm guessing Will Anderson goes to the Cardinals.
Will Anderson is a Houston Texan. He has Houston moving up all the way to 3 and getting Stroud and Will Anderson. I felt that this was just necessary to share because that's that's a guy that's really in talks with a lot of people, whatever. He's well dialed in. That's what I'm looking for. So if he's got that, that's wild to think about.
That is extremely wild. Houston must be mortgaging the farm to go do that.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. And look, jeez, they take Stroud at 2, thus taking the value of pick 3 a bit because Stroud is gone and now there's only 2 quarterbacks left, and it's kind of the quote unquote misfits and Anthony and Will, and they trade up for a pick whose value is now a bit depleted to go and get the edge rusher that they could have taken at 2.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, it would not be. You can get there, right? The math checks out if that happens.
It does. He also had Bijan going 8th to Atlanta. Tyree Wilson 9 to Chicago.
I just don't see Tyree sliding that far. But
Zay Flowers 11th to Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee, no, don't. You need wide receiver help, but don't do that. What do you say here? Maybe move through a couple of these picks a little bit quicker. We're at so I just traded up Minnesota to 15. Washington's now on the clock at 16. Where'd you give the Commanders? Who'd you give the Commanders?
I gave the Commies Deontay Banks out of Maryland. I think that. Oh yeah, I won't go well in. We'll just go fast. My bad.
I've got another corner going here, Joey Porter Jr. NFC East is loaded with weapons. I've got the Giants investing in a wide receiver here in a second as well. Big deficiency is the Commanders' secondary, and I think going and getting a corner would be a great first step.
Who did you have Green Bay taking again? I forgot.
I gave Jordan Addison to Green Bay.
Oh yeah. Okay, I don't know why I didn't remember that. Pittsburgh at 17. I had taken Joey Porter Jr. Kind of feels obvious if he's there.
Yeah. So, and I wrote this. I cannot believe that my tackle one, Paris Johnson Jr. has slid this far.
Wow.
But that's the way it happened in my draft. And the first instinct was go change that. There's no way. And then every year there's somebody that we're like, why was he not taken with the 8th overall selection? And we're here at 17. We're here at 22. Yeah. So for me, that's just not how my board worked out. I think the Steelers would flip double back handsprings if they got to go draft Paris Johnson Jr.
I feel like someone that you could look at for that same kind of thing is why is he still on the board might be Lucas Van Ness. I kind of think that this is the range that he should be going in, though, and add 18th to Detroit. Detroit double dips on defense, Van Ness and the spoon while adding a 25 first.
Nice. I give them Michael Mayer here, tight end out of Notre Dame. They traded Hawkinson last year. They needed tight end. This is kind of the range that I could see the tight ends starting to go. So I think this is a decent fit.
Yeah. 19 Tampa Bay, Broderick Jones, 22-year-old rookies, raw but high potential, great blend of power, agility, athleticism.
I've seen Bijan obviously get mocked here sometimes. According to Daniel Jeremiah, he's not available. According to you, he's not available. I'm going Kalijah Kancey, defensive lineman out of Pitt. Listen, I'm not going to compare him to Aaron Donald because that's completely unfair, but Tampa needs a defensive identity up front. They've got Vita Vea and kind of nobody else on that defensive line. Kalijah Kancey's undersized for an interior lineman, but he shows incredible explosion, incredible burst. His pad level, he wins with leverage, and he's able to get to the passer from the interior of that defensive line. To me, this could make a lot of sense. Now, I have no idea where Kancey's actually going to go because sometimes you see him this high. Sometimes you see him out of the first round entirely. Yeah. I've been talked into putting him in my first round. I think this could make a lot of sense if Tampa decides to go defensive over offensive line, which they also need.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa should just be taken. It's so lame to say, just take the top player on your board.
Yeah.
Hey, teams don't be doing that too often, oddly enough.
Right.
In the first round, 20th overall. Seattle's still here. They took Jalen Carter at 5. Now you get someone I believe could be the best defender in the class when it's all said and done, Myles Murphy. Still 21 years old.
Yep, I gave him Myles Murphy as well. I'm not
steal.
I don't understand why he slid
prospect
sometimes
fatigue,
out of the first round in mocks.
I just think it's prospect fatigue.
Yeah, I agree. He's not a complete player yet. Like there's nothing when I watch him on tape that he does better than anybody else, but the complete package is really encouraging. He's a good NFL player on day one with the potential to be great.
Yeah, he's still like people need to realize he just turned 21 in January.
Yeah,
you're getting 5 years on his rookie contract. You're getting someone who has shown so many good things. He produced in the ACC for multiple years as a young kid. Like I just think the sky is the limit with his speed, his power, his athleticism, his strength, and innate ability to get to the quarterback, which sure, how often have we heard this, Mitch? He doesn't have a full pass rushing skill set. He doesn't have the arsenal of moves. Can't learn them.
Yeah,
You're
right.
saying
Exactly.
The kid can't learn. He can't get coached up by some of the best in the business. Get out of here with that.
The same people that say that Anthony Richardson or Will Levis will develop accuracy in the NFL are so quick to say a guy like Miles Murphy can't progress, can't develop
Can't
a
add
better
a
spin.
feared club and dip or something. Like, get
Like
out of
what
here.
are we doing? Objectively, increasing accuracy at the NFL level has to be way harder than continuing to hone a craft, develop the power, the finesse,
Yeah.
etc. So I'm
He,
I'm right there with you. I think this would be a steal for Seattle.
I truly believe that we could be looking in a few years and Miles Murphy could be the best defender in the class. Like I don't see how there's no possibility of that happening. He should still be a top 5, 6, 7 pick. I think a lot of teams at the top are making mistakes not picking him. Chargers at 21. Do you have Chargers there?
I do, and this is a hunch. This is a hunch. I've got Bijan Robinson going to the Chargers. Now, do they trade Austin Eckler? I have no idea. What's clear is he's not long for Los Angeles. Kellen Moore comes over from the Cowboys as the new offensive coordinator. He's a guy that relies or he likes to have a premium running back. Now, does he use that running back all the time? No, didn't use Tony Pollard the way he should have been used at all. But if Los Angeles doesn't go tight end here, which this is a popular spot to see Michael Mayer go, if they don't go tight end, they decide to invest in the future at running back. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Chargers, right? Their offense runs through Eckler right now. I don't think it's going to just completely change with Kellen Moore. So I think this would be a good pick for Bijan to go to LA.
Oh, all right. So that's where you have Bijan going. I'm onto the same thing here. I think that there could be an awkward moment that happens. Austin Eckler is going to be on our buddy S Van's draft show on Thursday night. I really hope that Austin Eckler isn't seeing a running back picked when the Chargers are on the clock and he's doing like draft analysis and having a good time and stuff.
That
That'd
would
be
be tough.
awkward.
That would
Austin
be tough.
Eckler has like requested a trade or whatever, like he wants out there, and I think it's gonna happen eventually. I have I'm sorry for like I know we were gonna go quicker, but this is just one of those picks. I just have a gut feeling that's gonna be Jahmyr Gibbs at 21 to the Chargers. That's where my gut is going. There are teams that have Gibbs graded above Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
This is a class where you say what, like 10 to 17, I would say, is the range for most teams with how many players they view as first round talents. Okay, cool. The Dolphins' major interest in Gibbs got leaked. They would be trying to move up into the first to get him. LA would be able to block that off. I think Cincy at 28 is lurking for Gibbs. They get blocked off. They can't get him now. And Gibbs is minus 200 going the first round. I think that there's a sneaky team out there that did a sneaky visit with him that people don't know about. I'm baking on it being the Chargers.
I saw your article. Should we be expecting the over on 1.5 running backs taken in the first round? I think Gibbs would make a lot of sense if Bijan isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I just think the issue is it's minus 200. Are you laying that juice?
Yeah, right.
For something so unpredictable too, like the draft? Yeah, I'm getting that. But
Baltimore's on the clock now at 22, and then I've got the Jets, Jaguars, Giants, Cowboys, etc. Do you have Baltimore taking a wide receiver here? I've got Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of TCU, going to Baltimore.
I do not. I know that in my article I said this. I think there's two players that they're going to take here. One is Quentin Johnston, or the other is Julius Brents. They've done their homework on both of them. They've only done multiple meetings with a few players: Quentin, Julius, Jonathan Mingo, David Durden, and Anthony Richardson. So I think those visits, those meetings are going to pay off here, and I think they either go Brents or Quentin.
Do you think if they do go Julius Brents, is it too early?
No, I don't think it is. Again, I think that there's 8 or 9 corners that I would be comfortable taking in the first round of this draft, which goes all the way like Darius Rush and Eli Ricks. And I think Brent's, I think I ranked as my third corner. I ranked him as my third corner. I think that he's a name that was going to start trending upwards as a potential first round pick here. I think he will go in the first round, albeit it might be a little bit later. Maybe Baltimore trades down or something, but I like him in that early 20 spot. Like, he's just better than players that are going before him and after him. Like, if you ask me who the better prospect is, Julius Brents or Lucas Van Ness, I think it's Brents 100%. I don't think twice about it.
Yeah, I like Brent's a lot. I think he got slept on coming out of Kansas State. Really athletic corner, good length as well. Boy, the kid can
with
get
the
up.
opportunity to play safety if need be.
Sure, sure. I like that pick a lot. Yeah, I've got Johnson. They need a wide receiver. If they're gonna keep Lamar Jackson, I mean, you get it's kind of Green Bay, right? You got to put some weapons around him.
Yeah.
I'll go group think here. I know a lot of people have that, but I'll go group think. Um, Who's next on the clock? I've got the Jets. This is their trade back with Minnesota, and Darnell Wright is still on the board here. So you took Darnell a couple of picks ago at 15. I'll take him at 23. I don't love the way that my offensive lineman went in this draft, if I'm
Mhm.
being completely honest, because I'm a big believer in taking premium offensive line, premium trenches early,
Yeah.
but
They
also,
became more forgotten.
I'm not trying to script something, right? So this is a generic or this is an authentic result that my mock draft took the path that it took. If they get Darnell Wright at 23, I think they'd be really happy. I loved his evolution this year at Tennessee.
I had Kansas City moving up, getting aggressive, trading up with Minnesota. I think, hey, it might have to be higher now. Jeremiah had Zay Flowers going 11. Eric Edholm had Kansas City trading up into like the late teens at like
Hmm.
16, 17, 18 or something. So I mean, I had them trading up for Zay Flowers. I think they're infatuated with this kid. I think that's who they would gun for. And again, I think that they could trade up into a higher pick for him if need be.
I like it. I like that a lot. Gosh, I
Such a
mean,
good guy, Tuesday. What a nice fella.
it's so Kansas City is just it's their world and we're just living it, right?
Yeah.
They get to add these not gadget players,
Dynamic.
but like perfect players for their system when they want to. Like
Yeah.
they can trade up and it won't feel like a reach. It won't feel like, oh, well, they're trying to force something to happen. Like Zay's an awesome receiver, man. Especially in this class where you're trying to find that differentiator between so many slot wide receivers. Zay Flowers did not get his flowers at Boston College
Not at
because of
all.
the school that he was at. I think he's going to have a very bright
Exactly.
NFL future.
As I said so often, the second that everyone was going to stop associating Zay Flowers with the Boston College helmet was the second that his ascension upwards was going to happen. And it came true. It was so obvious.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so I had Jacksonville at 24 taking gut call here again. Keon White, he's going to be in KC for the draft. Do you invite a guy there if you don't think that there's a chance he goes in the first round? So I had to find a way to get Keon White in there. I know Trent Baalke said this. Age doesn't matter when we're evaluating prospects. It's not a part of our evaluation process. He's 24 years old and he's raw. So go ahead, Jacksonville, knock yourselves out.
I've got Dalton Kincaid, tight end from Utah, going here. Jacksonville could use a tight end. Now, you could argue that he's essentially Evan Ingram 2.0. Maybe Jacksonville wants that. Their offense could get really fun. But I do like that edge rusher pick for Jacksonville as well. The team that's a couple pieces away still from really contending with the big boys. We saw them burst onto the scene last year. I'm really curious to see what steps they take this draft.
Yeah, tight end, man. Just it's hard. It's really hard to because I don't know if we've talked about this before. It's just similar to running back in the way. The value's just not there, especially when you have a loaded tight end class like this
Yep.
one.
Yep.
Like, do you really want to take that over some of the guys that are available? No, I don't think you do. You got Sam Laporta probably early, or dude, he might be late second round now.
I'm with you. I think I would rather wait to take a tight end, which is why I'm a little bit nervous about all the tight end smoke here in Dallas.
Yeah.
We'll get there in just a second, but yeah, I would prefer to wait, take a tight end second, third round myself.
Yeah, I thought Kincaid was going to be your Dallas pick, but who knows? We'll get to the New York Football Giants first. Keep it
Yep.
simple. Was going to go Quentin Johnston. They didn't have a top 30 visit with him, so I actually went with Jordan Addison, who they have met with a bit.
Zay Flowers is still on the board in my mock draft, so he's going to
Yep.
New York to be a slot weapon for Daniel Jones, and Ryan Dayball's maybe building himself a team.
Yeah, That's where I first mocked Zay Flowers, I think in December, and I wrote in it, I think I'm gonna get like dirty looks for this or whatever, but dude, he's gonna be a first round pick. You always gotta believe it. Hop on the bandwagon. The
Yeah,
prophecy is fulfilled. Thank you, Mitch.
that's right. Um, I hate my pick for the Cowboys. I don't like it. And it's not necessarily because I don't like the player. I think it's too early. But there is a disturbing amount of talk that Will McDonald IV, edge rusher
Oh
out of
yeah.
Iowa State, is going to have a star in his helmet Thursday night. Look, Iowa State criminally mismanaged him. He's a pure edge rusher, what, 6'3", 240, I believe. They had him lining up in a three-man front, and that's just not a recipe for success for a pure pass rusher. So long arms, has a good, decent bend and the ability to get around the tackle. I think in a one-on-one situation, when he's able to pin his ears and rush the quarterback, he can be successful. He's a little raw. He's not very consistent. Sometimes he's just not involved in a football play. And for me, I have much better players on the board, higher ranked players on the board. Will McDonald's not in my top 40 players. That makes me really nervous. So this pick was solely reinforced by what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
not what I want for the Cowboys to take.
So I mean, I've seen Will connected a good bit to Dallas as well, obviously. I asked my friend who's a big Cowboys fan, like, what do you think I mocked? And he gave me a list of 5 players. Will was one of them. I legit told him to 4 of the players that you just listed, I wrote you. And then the other guy was Bijan, who was well off the board. Like, I just didn't like any of those that were being connected to Dallas.
Yeah.
And then I was seeing Will was getting talked up like he could go all the highest is 10th to Philadelphia. And I about lost my marbles, bitch. I cannot believe that. Not with that at all. I think there's better edge rushers. I also think if you're taking them over Miles Murphy, I think it's a fireable offense.
Yeah.
I went with Emmanuel Forbes though.
Okay.
I could not see myself going with McDonald. It came down to those two. I went with Forbes. I still think that they're in on him a good bit, and I'm hoping that the ball hawk gets there, even though, yeah, he's undersized. But what's cool is 6 pick sixes, and that's an FBS record.
I'm with you. If Forbes finds a way to Dallas, I will not be mad. I've been team cornerback for a long time, especially over a tight end this early, and I caught some flack for it because a lot of people want to continue to invest in Team 40 Burger and go and score 50 points this season, right? I understand you need to support Dak. On the other hand, continuing to build a defense that is just impossible to score on takes a lot of pressure off your quarterback. And so I'd rather go corner there as well.
I also just like, again, Cam Smith, if he is there, that's who the pick should be for a whole lot of teams, because he is another case of prospect fatigue, and red flags is why he's going down and falling down like analyst boards, which in the media, which does a whole domino effect, and the public doesn't like him. His red flags are being too confident and cocky. I want that in a quarterback. Y'all are tripping. Buffalo at 27.
Buffalo at 27. I gave him Drew Sanders. They need to replace Tremaine Edmonds. I don't have a first round grade on a linebacker this year, but we're well outside my first round grades anyway. Sanders, I think, gets slept on as a 3-down linebacker. I think he can rush the passer, but he can also fill that A gap. It was kind of a natural pairing. I've had them going secondary for the vast majority of my mock drafts, but with Sanders on the board and Edmonds now in Chicago, it seemed like a good marriage.
Yeah, so I've had those two connected one time before, I think way back a few months ago. So I could see that. Now what happens is, as our former member of the Treasure Portal CFB, now Minnesota Golden Gopher student manager Andrew Ster Wilson, screamed last year on draft night when Jahan Dotson was drafted. Speed. We never take in for account that speed is going to win on draft night, and that guys are going to get overdrafted because of it. Buffalo's here picking at 27. What does Josh Allen have? Got a rocket for an arm. Needs another vertical threat. Jalen Hyatt steps in. Speed.
There you go. I've seen Hyatt
Don't agree
drafted
with it.
as high as number 8, which blows my
Which
mind.
is, I still wouldn't take him in the first round, but whatever.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But into the first round, this is, these are the picks that you can take a little bit of a shot. With a
Yeah,
guy
that's
that you've got a
just
high 2 on, and if that's where Buffalo is, then go ahead and invest in your offense.
that's just the whole, we're trying to we beat defenses down the field a good bit. We have some misconnections at times. Wow, we just get a pure deep threat in Jalen Hyatt and see what he could do with Josh Allen throwing the ball 95 yards in a blizzard.
Sure. I've got Broderick Jones down here at 28 to the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about him. I like him a lot, and this would be a good pickup for Cincinnati if they can invest in that offensive line.
Speaking to that potential slide that he could have, I had my first tie-in off the board here. The Cincinnati Bengals fan himself, Michael Mayer. I think he's the safest option of any tight end. I think that's what's going to get him into the first round.
I would agree with that. Yeah, they could use a tight end. Where's Big Red? Is he in Baltimore
Big
now?
Red. It's an Andy Dalton or Hayden Hurst?
Hayden Hurst.
Don't call him Big Red. Isn't Hayden Hurst in what was he, Carolina?
Is he Carolina? Oh yeah, you're right. He's Carolina. I've got him in my dynasty league. I've got a buddy who we call Big Red. He's a Hayden Hurst doppelganger.
What? No
Beautiful
way.
man. Beautiful man.
What was next? New Orleans.
New Orleans. Mozzie Smith, defensive lineman from Michigan. Strong, decent pad level. I mean, incredibly strong. And New Orleans needs more reinforcement on that defensive line.
Yeah, this pick scares me. I don't know where they could go. I feel like it's obvious that they might go IDL, but I feel like too many people have done that. I also think if Jalen Hyatt's here, he'd be a serious consideration for New Orleans. I went with Kalijah Kancey Adam falling, near the end of the first round. So I went with him, but someone who's very tapped in with the Saints says that they'd go Brzee if he's there. I love Brzee. I think the medical concerns turn off a lot of teams, so I don't know if we'll go in the first round.
Exactly. That's why I picked Smith over Brzee. Cancey's already gone. I think Brzee goes early day 2, but the medicals scare me a lot. I've got Deonte Banks going to the Eagles at 30, which again just makes me cry because I really believe in Banks. I think he's a great corner, can play safety, I think, as well, even though he's not the biggest kid in the world, but Philly gets to tune him up however they want, right? They've got their starting corners back. They need a safety. They need that nickel help. I think Banks could slide back there pretty easily.
Yeah, Peter Skronsky at 10 for Philly for me. They're just looking for a high-level defender with incredible instincts and intellect. So Brian Branch, versatile too.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm interested to see where Branch goes, because early on he was being mocked. One of the first right. One of the first secondary members off the board. He slid out of the first round for me.
Originally slid out of the first for me too, and I changed it.
Yeah. My final pick, Kansas City. They go offensive line. They get a big man, a mountain of a man at tackle, DeJuan Jones, Ohio State.
Good. I think he should be a first rounder. I really want LA. Okay. I really want the Chargers to take him. So our picks are funny here, how they connect. You had Minnesota trading up to 15 with the Jets, taking Hendon Hooker, the Jets getting Darnell Wright. I had the Jets taking Darnell Wright at 15, though, and then I had the Chiefs trading up with the Vikings to get Zay Flowers, but then the Vikings coming down and taking Hendon Hooker to end the round. So there's a bit of connections there with those picks. I don't know why. Pretty bizarre. Hendon Hooker gets his name called at the end of the first. Good for him.
I love it, man. I love it. Hey, that was fun. I'm excited to watch this draft tomorrow.
Very excited as well. That was not a super scuffed recording or anything, but woohoo.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you having me on. It was a blast, and can't wait to break all this down here in a couple days. I think we're going to be doing some sort of streaming, YouTube or Twitter Spaces or something. We'll be tweeting about it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Possibly Friday as opposed to Thursday, but who knows? We'll figure it out. We'll have a lot of content throughout the weekend, videos, articles, tweets, all that fun stuff. And okay, one more thing, because I want to do at least one superlative. One
Okay.
superlative.
Okay.
One person you think that can make most likely to make the Hall of Fame that's not like a hot commodity, kind of like an under the radar Hall of Fame dart throw.
That's a great question. All right. So I think you could go a couple of different ways here. My gut instinct, I think Rasheed Rice, wide receiver at SMU. Now he's a hot day two commodity. I think it's incredible to see him move up draft boards where
Yeah,
he was kind of a mid third round guy, and now there's talk that he might not slide out of the top 50 picks. I love the way that he goes and competes for the football. He doesn't always get open right away, and he has to kind of battle for it. So he has a lot of really contested catches in his
yeah,
SMU tape. But if he can find a way to increase his route running, get a little bit more technical, the ball skills are there. And the kid fights for the football when he goes up for it. I think he's explosive. He's got some breakaway speed. He's hell on wheels after the catch. He's not fun to try and tackle. He's a personal favorite of mine, so I'd love to see Rasheed have a really good career and,
I've
and be
been
special.
I've been enamored with his game since the 2020 season, and I've really wanted to interview him. Unfortunately, haven't been able to. Big fan of Rasheed, though. I think I found a loophole here, a cheat. If you think Jake Moody's the best kicker in the class, if you think he's going to be an all-time kicker, then there he goes, gold jacket that man. What about Hunter Lipke? If we think he's the best fullback prospect ever, he's going to have a long career. Cheat with
Sure.
Hunter Lipke, but I'll be real. I'll go with the receiver as well. I'll go with A.T. Perry.
Okay, I love AT.
Yeah,
Fast and gosh, I think he was a guy that the media scouts were so late on
so late.
finding. But yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch. The receivers day two, day three are going to be so fun to watch where they go. Because I think that
Yeah,
this draft doesn't have the top end talent as deep as other drafts have, right? You talked about it. A lot of teams have 10 to 17 first round grades. The value is day two, early day three. What teams are lining up at the end of the second round, beginning of the fourth round, especially for me, where the trade value starts to become a little bit more manageable. But having an early day three pick this year, I think, is going to be really valuable.
definitely. And just speaking with A.T. Perry at the Shrine Bowl, that dude has been through some stuff, and he's just so determined to be the very best. He's gonna make a fan base really happy. He's a good dude, gonna have a really good career.
I love it, man. Great pick.
And yeah, that'll do it for us. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for speaking today, Mitch. That was eventful, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.